What's up, Switches?
I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Cicero.
And this is the Switching Lanes podcast.
Today's topic, why can I grieve? Jennifer, I wanted to ask you, have you ever grieved for someone that you didn't know, or maybe like a celebrity?
Absolutely. In 2016, we lost a really great individual that I was never allowed to meet in person, never attended a concert. But I must admit, I didn't fall out into a full cry, but I absolutely shed a tear the day I found out that Prince had passed away.
I don't remember when he passed away. I was at work, as a matter of fact.
I was at work, yeah.
Huh. I was heartbroken with that.
I was hurt.
I can say, I think mine was Whitney Houston. I cried when I found out she died. I was at home. I think I was working nights at that time, so I was up that day, and I was just kind of sitting in my bed watching television, and I saw it, and I cried, and I was in a lot of disbelief because, I mean, just face it, Whitney Houston. I mean, we grew up on Whitney Houston. She was very young when she started her career, but we grew up on that.
Absolutely.
Like, all of her music and all of her music that I listen to now, still, I can just sing pretty much probably every song that she has word for word. And her movies, you know. I loved her in Wait Till Exhale.
Definitely.
I think that's my favorite Whitney Houston movie. And I cried. And even when I watched her funeral, I cried. And I can recall the moment where Ray J touched her casket as they went by, leaving out of the church with it. And that just really did something to me. But I was thinking about this topic in light of the accident with Kobe Bryant and his daughter, and the other family, and the pilot, and those that were lost. And, of course, social media went ablaze. And,
of course,
everybody's timeline, I mean, it's still flooded, actually, with Kobe Bryant this and Kobe Bryant that.
Right.
And people were, you had your few people who were getting beside themselves and was like, oh, my God, y'all this. I mean, even, it was so funny because in that moment when it happened, I was sitting in the hospital in the waiting room, visiting a friend, and when her sister said that Kobe had passed away, I was like, no way, you're lying, that's fake news.
Right.
And I went immediately to my phone, went to Facebook, of course, and I saw all of the posts. I mean, my timeline was already flooded. And I looked at, got off of there and went on the internet and started looking at, the news sources to see, okay, is this really real?
Right.
Is it a hoax? And then I started seeing from, like CNN and, Washington Post and these places that I call
reliable news sources.
They confirmed it.
Right.
And so even later on that day, this was probably around 11, 12, maybe 1. So later on that day, maybe not even an hour later, I started seeing the posts about people. Well, I didn't see the posts. I saw people replying to posts about people already tired of the Kobe Bryant posts and people grieving Kobe Bryant. They don't even know him.
Like you're really bashing, rather, somebody that's choosing to grieve for a loss of life.
Right. Well, the first thing about that really kind of drove me crazy was it's social media. It's the trending topic.
Right.
So naturally, what I do when the topic is trending, if it's bugging me, I just don't get on social media.
Don't get on log out.
I disconnect because it's the trending topic. So I know. I mean, not just social media. I mean, the news outlets that I have the apps to, all of those alerts were coming up on my phone.
Everywhere. It's still everywhere.
It's still everywhere. So you're gonna disconnect. If it gets on your nerves that bad, disconnect. But that's not the topic right now. I was just thinking about how people were and still are having an issue with people that are grieving the loss of Kobe Bryant. And one, those who say that, oh, you didn't know him. And then two, those who say, oh, well, there were other people on the helicopter.
Right.
And I think all of that speaks to how jaded we've become as a nation, as a, what's the word I'm looking for? As a generation. How jaded we've become, because you can look at a person and say, you can't grieve that person because you don't know that person personally.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that person didn't touch your life.
I agree. We tend to make connections with people. Whether you met that person in person or not doesn't really matter. You can connect with people that you've watched grow up. We all watched 227. We felt like we grew up with Brenda, you know?
Exactly.
So
Absolutely.
you
Great
feel
example.
a connection to
Great
Regina
example.
King. I still follow Regina King.
Exactly.
Love her. So you tend to create those connections when you've followed someone for so long.
Right. It's just like the Huxtable kids. You know, Rudy is our age.
Right.
So you definitely felt that connection through her stages because we went through those same stages at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So it amazes me that people can be so butthurt and jaded that you're grieving someone that you didn't know. And I was so excited when I saw this post about this professor. He posted, he's a University of Memphis professor of psychology. And he posted, his name is Dr. Robert Niemeyer. I think I'm saying that right. And he posted, they interviewed him, and he said that mourning the loss of someone that you never met is completely normal. And I agree. I don't even think that, it's amazing that they had to actually talk to a psychologist to
get someone to rationalize that. Why do I need to rationalize my grief? Something that is a natural process, something that we all go through. I don't have to explain my grief to you. Exactly. I don't have to take the time to justify my feelings to you at all. Any type of feelings that I'm having.
Exactly. It says, he said in this article that I read, it was a great article, and I did post it to my personal page, and I'll be sure to I'll share it to the group page as well because it's a great read. But he said any person who plays an important role in anchoring our sense of who we are and what we value, someone with whom we identify, we experience the death of that person as the death of a part of ourselves. And that makes a lot of sense. I can only imagine the basketball fans of Kobe's who followed his career from high school on to NBA. Yeah. I mean, because he started, he went straight from high school, 17 years old.
Extreme sports lovers. You have so many of them in your life.
Yeah, and even some of the players that he played against on the court that said they played basketball because of him. Mm-hmm. So imagine the kids who didn't necessarily get to meet him in person, but play ball because of him.
Absolutely.
Because of his career, because of his sportsmanship. I've heard nothing but great things about him in all these interviews that I've listened to and watched. And you have to think about that. When someone touches your life in that way, again, we say mainly with celebrities because they have that big reach. Mm-hmm. They have such a great reach. I mean, Michael Jackson, people cried and sobbed when they saw the man in concert.
Passed out.
When they saw him in concert. Yes. So just imagine when he passed away.
They were taken out of his concert on stretchers.
Right. So imagine when he passed away, how that affected lives and lives. I mean, I was definitely in disbelief when he died. I was like, no, he ain't dead. I was on my Elvis tip with him.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked about that as well. So, everybody thought he was pulling a little scheme or whatever. Yeah. But
he's about to get away from all of this.
Yeah, but here's the thing with all of this. For every person who is saying that you shouldn't be grieving someone that you've never met. You don't know him. You can't this and you can't that. Let me explain something to you because we have a real big issue with our society. We really are emotionally bankrupt. We are in so much trouble. And if you're emotionally bankrupt, you're raising your children to be the exact same way. So that next generation, man, so many question marks around it. But you can't say that. You cannot stand by that statement saying that you're not allowed to grieve someone that you don't know personally. And here's how I'm going to prove you wrong. In 2001, what did we all grieve together as a nation? 9/11.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody cried. I didn't meet a person without tears in their eyes. I still get emotional when I discuss all the lives lost. We still have first responders who are still suffering from health issues from responding to that location on 9/11. In 2005, we were heartbroken watching Hurricane Katrina all over the news.
Oh, man.
You don't get to tell me that I'm not allowed to cry watching these bodies floating in this water and nobody can get to them. Nobody can save them. We can't even get people out to take out water to the people that did survive.
Right.
You cannot tell me that you weren't hurt, that you weren't touched in some way. And if you weren't, something is wrong and you need to talk to somebody, because that's a human emotion.
It's very normal. It's you, and when you said first responders, that also made me just think about our everyday first responders in the city.
Absolutely.
When they see people hurt, when they see people dying, when a fireman goes into a building and can't save a life,
and that
does something to that fireman.
Absolutely.
And that's someone they don't know. That's a person they probably
never met
seen,
before,
never knew existed. And they are severely affected by not being able to save that person's life. I mean, I work in the medical field, and we have patients that I don't know. That all I know, I just know them on paper.
Right.
I see their medical information. I may have made a phone call or two to a family member or whatever the case may be. I don't know this person personally. I don't know where they live. I don't know, well, when I say I don't know where they live, I mean, of course I know the address, but I don't know what their home life is like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know them personally. I don't know their likes, their dislikes. I don't know the favorite colors. But when I come back to work and get word that we've lost that patient, that takes a piece of me.
Mm-hmm.
It does something to my heart, because you just, you want people to live, and you want people to have full lives, and you want people to be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And it like she said, it's just like Jennifer said, it's just a normal part of life. You have to have that piece of compassion right there.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people lack that, and I think social media has made, I won't say social media has, but I just think just as generations came across and we started getting more access, when we thought we were actually connected, because we have all this social media and all this access to the internet and the outside world just from sitting on your couch, I think that connectivity made us a little bit more disconnected, because
absolutely,
because the jokes.
Yeah.
The jokes I've seen.
Such insensitivity. Like you said, a huge lack of compassion.
Yeah.
You're bashing people because they're expressing condolences. They're being empathetic toward families that lost loved ones.
They're being empathetic towards this man's wife.
Right.
This is a mother.
And you have an issue with that.
And as a mother, if I see another mother lose her child, that does something to me.
Man.
Because I have a child, and it's in that moment is when I put myself in that person's shoes. Mm-hmm. I couldn't imagine anything happening to my baby. That would really just tear my world apart.
Right. Or the fact that one family lost 3 family members in that flight. 3. And they left behind a daughter. I can't imagine
she lost both
the devastation she's feeling right now.
Exactly.
I can't imagine where her mind and her heart is taking her right now.
That baby probably feels lost in this world right now.
Do you understand? So you don't get to say that people don't get to grieve for these other people. In everyday life, I see people on my Facebook page grieving loved ones, and I feel sorry for them, because I know that you're going through some terrible hurt by losing a loved one. My family just laid one of my uncles to rest last week. So you don't get to say who we are allowed to grieve and who we are not. Don't ever say that you're not allowed to grieve someone just because you never met that person personally.
Right.
I work in a job where I tend to be exposed to people that I don't know every single day. And at one point I was exposed to a situation where a large family, almost the entire family, lost their lives. And that was a really heavy moment for me.
Wow.
And I'm really glad I mentioned that situation, because I absolutely want you to understand that it's okay to grieve. It's a normal process, and sometimes you need help with it. I thought I was okay in this situation where I've never met any of these people, but I know that they all lost their lives. And I ended up in some mandatory counseling through my job.
Wow.
And it's crazy, because until I was there, I thought I didn't need it.
That's
until
amazing.
The session began, I was like, I'm fine. I'm okay. I don't want to go. Do I have to? And the moment we sat down and everything began, I knew immediately I needed to be there.
Yeah. Well, that's because I think we program ourselves